Morningland Dairy raid that is slated for tomorrow morning by the Missouri Milk Board and the Food and Drug Administration. We'll have on here as a guest at about quarter after the owner of that farm, Ms. Denise Dixon, and also Doreen Hannes will be joining us this morning. She's been heavily involved in this process and this program from Jump Street, and she'll be able to give us some very clear and unique insight. For our bullet points this morning, I want to talk about the issue regarding Hillary Clinton and yesterday's debacle at the House and Senate hearings. Ms. Clinton was vague. She was in areas where she should have had an extraordinary level of knowledge and expertise. I thought she did a terrible job of properly answering those questions. However, my real problem is not necessarily with Hillary Clinton, but with the congressmen and the senators who questioned her. Unfortunately, these buffoons took an opportunity, instead of asking hard questions, to grandstand in front of the camera. Like a bunch of boys and girls in grade and elementary school. Rather than do their job, they bounced around and flamboyantly portrayed themselves as some pseudo-intellectuals in front of the camera, in a process that was actually embarrassing, degrading, and quite frankly useless to America. What we needed were hard answers. We had one crack at this, and they blew it. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, these congressmen and these senators were just acted shamefully. They were like giddy children and really blew the opportunity to really get a handle on what transpired during Benghazi, how, when, where, who, what, and why. And there were a number of questions that weren't asked. Like, where are the 32 survivors of Benghazi that have been hidden away by the State Department? I want them subpoenaed. I want those survivors subpoenaed to testify as to what really, truly happened. And then I would like to have a senator or a House representative actually have written questions that they ask, get an answer, ask, answer, ask, answer. Instead of grandstanding like a buffoon, they had an opportunity and should have taken it to really dig into the real problem here. Unfortunately, they were more interested in trying to make themselves look like they were intelligent and articulate, and instead they came off as idiots. Not to mention the fact that America just really never got answers. That's what this was about. That was the purpose of this entire diatribe. That was what all the news and press was about. And when they finally got their opportunity to make some hay, they blew it. I mean, people, if you don't understand that these representatives who, in theory, are supposed to allegedly represent us, are absolute idiots with their own agenda and an attempt to feather their own nests, I don't know what else to suggest, but that was all the example that you needed. They're not interested in getting answers. They were interested in looking good in the camera so that their family could say, "Oh, you did such a good job. I was so impressed with your intellectualism. You asked such probing questions." No, they didn't. They made statements. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. I mean, just beyond the pale. So what we have now is a group in Benghazi who we have no more knowledge about what really transpired than we did before Hillary Clinton testified. And we don't even, no one brought out the fact that there are 32 survivors. Why not? Why not? Then the press could no longer hide the fact. You see, Mr. and Ms. Senator, Mr. and Ms. House Representative, your job is to publicize this so that no one has an opportunity to escape national media attention. And your opportunity would have been to ask on camera, where are the 32 survivors? At which point, the press would have been obligated to say, yes, let's echo the question. Where are the 32 survivors? And the rest of America, sleeping in their apathy, would have said, hey, I didn't even know there were 32 survivors. Yeah, Communist News Network. Yeah, MSLSD. Tell us where they are. Yeah, fake news. Tell us where they are. Let's have them interviewed on TV. Let's have them subpoenaed before Congress so we can find out what Hillary's not telling us. I swear, Congress is drunk so much of its own Kool-Aid, these guys can't do anything that is even remotely related to their jobs. They sit up there as if they are some elitist organization that hasn't a care in the world. And the truth is, they don't. They don't have a care in the world. They make great money. They have an absolute guaranteed pension that no matter how many of the rest of us are starving, they're always going to get theirs. They are treated like royalty at every restaurant they go to. Everyone kowtows to them. Everyone walks up and treats them with such respect and decorum. When they walk into the restaurant, they're given the best seat, and the finest bottle of wine is brought out by the owner of the restaurant to say, Mr. Senator, I'm so pleased that you're here. Here's a bottle of $250 wine on the house. Can we just get a picture of you standing with the owner, arm around his shoulder? Mr. Senator, this is a young lady who would like to meet you. Oh, Mr. Senator, I'm so impressed with you. You're so wise. You're so wonderful. Sure, come on up and have a drink with me. Let's do a little evening hotty-toddy. What do you think? That's what they're there for! Not to represent you. Not to save our nation. Make me sick, the lot of you. You had one crack at the brass ring and you blew it. Like a couple of stupid, ignorant school children, you were more interested in what everyone thought about you than you were in getting the truth. That was your one and only obligation. Instead, you were worried about how you looked on camera. Absolutely shameless behavior. Well, I'm going to sit here and talk for 8 minutes and make a group of claims, and of course, the reality is, I'm not going to say anything, but I want to look like I'm such an intellectual. So, Ms. Clinton, my statement, my comment for you is that you have done a wonderful job. Not a single hard question out of any of the Democrats. They were all softball nonsense crap. Claptrap. That's all it was. Claptrap. I mean, I can't believe that that's the best that they could come up with. I can't believe that that's what we consider to be the best of America. Group of congressmen sitting around there, patting themselves on the back. Democrats slapping her on the back saying, oh, Ms. Clinton, you're such a patriotic American. That's the end of my bullet points. I'm so disgusted I could vomit. Absolutely shameful. Behavior that is not worthy of anything that we would consider or justify to be a real approach to their need to represent us. Well, okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Denise Dixon. Denise is the owner of Morningland Dairy. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a story you've got to hear. They're about to have 50,000 pounds worth of cheese destroyed. That's $250,000. Ripped off, robbed by the Milk Board in Missouri, local judges who have actually betrayed their oath to the Constitution, their oath to the state, and their oath to the courts to do justice. Shameful behavior on everyone's part. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to have an opportunity to hear from her herself, and you're also going to have an opportunity to learn what you can do to help make a difference in this story. It's time to take action. This is the action part of the show, folks. All right, we'll be back in just a minute.
America's Voice Now, delivering truth over mainstream propaganda every single day. Hi, my name is Michael Evans, and I'm your host, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., and Saturday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Join me daily for important guests and my unique slant on hot topics in the news. Visit americasvoicenow.org for even more news, articles, and commentary, and watch our show streaming live to your PC. Share your morning with me. Get educated, informed, motivated, and activated. America's Voice Now, right here on 107.1.
A developer at a U.S.-based critical infrastructure company was caught outsourcing his work to China, meaning that he was paying someone else to do his job. Here's how Bob spent his day. Surfed the internet for a couple of hours, and then he watched cat videos. 11:30, he went to lunch. 1 o'clock, he went on eBay. 2 o'clock to 4:30, he was on Facebook. 5 o'clock, he went home. Cat videos? Really?
You can catch the Kim Commando Show Saturdays, noon until 3 on the Ozarks Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point.
We're back. Hey, listen, we're going to have a great opportunity for you guys to hear from the owner of Morningland Dairy this morning. You're going to hear about treason and tyranny in action. Our government is utilizing its police power to destroy these folks, and you're going to have an opportunity to hear firsthand exactly how, why, and under what circumstances. And then you're going to find out what you can do to make a difference. Remember, this is educate, inform, motivate, activate. This is the activate part, folks. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have two folks on with us this morning. I have Doreen Hannes, who you folks have met here before on the show. She is the purveyor of truthfarmer.com, which is a website that, is it org or com? I'm sorry.
It's .com.
.com. Okay, truthfarmer.com, which is a blog that really kind of delves into some of these issues. And I am also joined this morning by Denise Dixon. Denise is the owner of Morningland Dairy in Mountain View, Missouri. And she has been waging a 2.5-year battle against the FDA and the Missouri Milk Board in reference to some 50,000 pounds of cheese, which they have been working to basically destroy her by financial attrition. Good morning, Denise. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
I want to just touch on a couple of things here. You're slated tomorrow morning to have a quote-unquote raid on your farm to basically take possession of this cheese and have it destroyed. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The cheese has been locked in I guess a refrigerated vault now for some 2 years or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Since August 26, 2010.
Okay. You know, I know how that there's a war on against the farmer in our nation. And I know that the USDA, the FDA, and local state DNRs and milk boards and all the rest of these groups are all of them actively working against farmers. And I mean, I can't quite get the idea because no farmers equals no food. But for whatever reason, you know, government is using its heavy steel hand to just beat you guys into submission. And I find that disturbing, to say the least. Can you tell us, I mean, at this point, are there any legal options open for you?
Our understanding is that we've exhausted all legal options.
Okay. So this is in the state of Missouri, right? These are state courts?
Yes.
Okay. You and I spoke yesterday briefly, and we talked about the possibility of maybe taking this into the federal realm, and I'm going to work on that later on this morning and decide and try to make a determination with the federal attorney whether or not this thing could be pushed beyond the state and into the federal realm. Because, you know, I think that the only way to fight back against these guys is to use the same law against them that they're using to basically thrash you into submission. I mean,
Yes.
it's really the only way to do it. You know, they misuse the law for their own purposes, and I think that maybe the only way to fight back against them is to use the same law to fight back. Mm-hmm. At this point, you've got yourself some 50,000 pounds of cheese with an estimated value of somewhere around $250,000. And the FDA did some 99 or 100 different swab tests for listeria in your facility, and 100% of them were negative. So
That's correct.
Under what grounds do they say that they have to destroy this? Because, to be honest, I just don't get it, other than the fact that this is like a personal vendetta or something by the Missouri Milk Board. If the FDA said we did 100 swabs, 100% negative, and the Missouri Milk Board says, well, regardless of what the FDA says, we're gonna go ahead and take your cheese, I got to assume that this is almost some kind of a personal vendetta or something.
We've wondered that also. If there's pressure from big business, we don't know. Like we just, the judgment was made that we had an unclean facility and there wasn't a scrap of evidence to that effect, and that somehow we had sick cows and there's not a scrap of evidence nor truth to either one. Those are the two judgments made by Judge Dunlap.
Judge Dunlap locally here in Howell County?
Yes.
Okay. I know Judge Dunlap. I'm surprised that well, let me rephrase that. I guess I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed, and I can tell you this: I don't think the guy's a farmer. I know him well enough to know that, and I also understand. And Doreen, you can probably talk on this issue. He laid down a whole series of new regulations that they would have to do in order to remain in business. Am I correct there?
Absolutely correct. Now, here's the interesting thing. I mean, we've all heard about judges legislating from the bench, but in this case, we have a judge regulating from the bench. And effectively, the appeals court in the state, throughout the state, I mean, Denise, I think there were 2 or 3 different appeals, and they left all of these regulations, which are patently impossible to perform and to stay in business, and actually a pretty good likelihood just flat out impossible, because according to some of the tests that were indicated as regulation from behind the bench, you'd have to culture the milk to determine the pathogen, and that takes about 3 days before you milk the cow, Mike.
Unbelievable. I mean, how are you, the whole argument there is just beyond reasonable. I mean, if you were going to sit there and say that, you'd have to say you're going to have to test every cow's teat before you attempt to milk that cow to verify that it is pathogen-free. I mean, it's a ridiculous concept. We may as well just stop drinking milk and ban it.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Now, I myself am unaware of any other cases where the judge literally regulated from behind the bench, and it was upheld all the way through the court system.
I'm not surprised to hear that. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. I mean, I truly believe that for whatever reason, our judicial system is so corrupted at this point that it's almost impossible that we can expect to get fair and equitable regulation or rulings from anybody in the judicial system. But this kind of abuse of power, which is just agreed to by the next judge up the ladder or up the rung, if you will, is just beyond reasonableness.
Well, there is no reason. There's absolutely no reason in this, Michael. And one of the things people need to understand, that this is a involved process in order to make cheese. So let me explain the process real quickly, and then
sure.
I'd kind of like to get into the issue of testing. First of all, they milk the cows, and the milk is transported into a vat, and then that gets turned into roughly 10 to 12 40-pound blocks of cheese, and it sits there for a few days while it matures, and then it's put into the cooler. Those are known as batches of cheese. Then those 40-pound blocks are taken and cut into 5-pound, 1-pound, or half-pound packages to sell, right? So the Dixons wanted to test each batch of cheese. So, 10 to 12 blocks of cheese per batch, to ascertain if there were any pathogens in those cheese. They were denied that. And what's more, the milk board told them if they tested a 40-pound block of cheese 40 times and every test was perfectly clear, they still couldn't sell that cheese.
So they made it a lose-lose situation. They placed you in a position, Denise, where you had absolutely no ability to make this right.
Correct.
I mean,
we asked them actually 100 times. We actually seriously asked them if we did it 100 times.
On a 40-pound block, in other words.
Yes.
Right. So that would be 2.5 times or 2 1/3 times what was actually. In other words, every pound would be checked 2.5 times.
Right.
Unbelievable. You hear about these dairy scenarios, and for whatever reason, you guys aren't alone in this, and I know that's no consolation to you, but, we've heard about these types of situations before in other states as well, where these USDA and the FDA and these milk boards are completely out of control. I mean, this is Nazi fascism in an agency, if ever there was an example of it.
Well, I think the most important thing for your listeners to take home from this, I mean, aside from the fact that this is their backyard, this is our state, and our state is conducting this kind of activity on our state citizens, is that the FDA has a policy whereby they say that all raw dairy is inherently dangerous and should never be consumed by anyone for any reason, and that policy goes on to indicate that they want to close down and stop all production, consumption, and distribution of raw dairy in the entire nation.
It's ridiculous because we only started pasteurizing and homogenizing dairy products, some 40 years ago or something. I mean, up until then, for literally hundreds of years, perhaps thousands of years, humans have been drinking cow's milk. And without problem, I mean, I suppose, if you're going to let it sit out on the table long enough, you're going to get a problem. But, I mean, you could say the same thing with a hot dog. So, to me, it's almost like these agencies are in the business of destroying farmers because that gives them an opportunity to punch their report card and move up the bureaucratic ladder. And you're an easy target, so they go after the lowest hanging fruit. They beat you to death with financial attrition because they know that you've got limited resources, financial resources, to defend yourselves. And they have the full weight, power, might, and money of the government, whether it's state or federal, to sit there and just bludgeon you until you either give in or acquiesce or lose.
Right. Well, the Dixons didn't do that. They took it all the way.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got a break coming up, and I'm going to ask you girls if you don't mind hanging on until after the break, because I think that our listenership, and I also want to talk about a couple of websites that they can get to. There's a website out there called Pledgy.com where people are donating funds to try to help you folks recover. I want to talk about that when we come back. Folks, we'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now. We'll be back in just a minute.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. One day after the Secretary of State took the spotlight to testify about the deadly attack in Benghazi, Libya on 9/11.
I want to be clear that, of course, it was a terrorist attack. The very next day I called it an attack by heavily armed militants on our compound.
A warning today of a specific threat to Westerners there. This coming from the British Foreign Office, which is urging its nationals to leave. Meanwhile, the person the president would like to replace Hillary Clinton facing some questions today.
How tough will the questions be at today's confirmation hearing for Secretary of State nominee John Kerry?
We will bring back for the only time waterboarding to get the truth out of him.
Arizona Republican Senator John McCain, an outspoken critic of torture, joking Tuesday about a confirmation hearing that is likely to be a formality. Kerry is expected to sail through confirmation.
Fox Radio's Mike Makowitz. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Here we go with round 2 of Hope and Change. Looking forward looks bumpy and rocky. Nobody's stimulated by high unemployment and tax increases. Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance can help you be ready to face the challenges of the next 4 years. We have long-term food storage, ammunition, informational books and DVDs, water purifiers, and a whole lot more. Come see us at 3225 Highway 62 East, Suite number 3, just a half-mile past Walmart in Mountain Home, or call us at 492-4030. That's Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance.
Last week, I saw the mighty Sasquatch get a new smartphone at U.S. Cellular and have money left over for a perm. It sounds crazy, but listen up. Great smartphones like the LG Splendor are just $49.99 or less at U.S. Cellular. If that's crazy, I don't want to be normal.
Switch to U.S. Cellular and say hello to select smartphones for $49.99 or less. U.S. Cellular. Hello better. Certain restrictions apply. Applicable smartphone data plan required. New 2-year agreement and $30 activation fee may apply. See store for details.
I know what you're thinking, Bunk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Dirty Harry gets all his ammo from the battery station. John Rambo, you guessed it. He gets his ammo from the battery station, too. So if you need ammo, go to the place where the guys who know about ammunition go. The battery station. They have one of the largest supplies of ammunition in the area. So make sure you're stocked up and don't get low on shells. Go to the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains.
Last time on the Dennis Miller Show. Screw-ups by their nature are screw-ups. And you're asking them to become not screw-ups. There might be something happening with young people because college kids are smart. I just don't know that they're wise. So as they get older, I think they'll be smart enough to realize that the country's broke and sort of rudderless, and they might bring it back. But that's a generational thing. That's not our generation's sort of set in stone. And it's, I'll be honest with you, the screw-up generation.
You can catch Dennis Miller weekdays 9 until noon on 107.1 The Point.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information, email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, a partly cloudy sky, mostly sunny as we head to the day today. The high temperature 30 degrees, cloudy with a period of freezing rain developing tonight, the low 24. Slick start for tomorrow, then rain for the afternoon before things clear out, high 46. Mostly sunny Saturday. I'm meteorologist Jim Rinaldi. For more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
Have you tuned in to Beyond the Point or checked us out on the webpage at my1071thepoint.com and clicked on Beyond the Point? It's a Sunday program from 8 a.m. until noon, Sundays, on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point. This program is to inspire and enlighten your path throughout your week. Kicking off your Sundays at 8 a.m. is the First United Methodist Church. Go to FUMCWestPlains.com, inviting all, forming disciples, and sending out to serve God.
All right, folks, we're back, and we are again joined by Doreen Hannes, truthfarmer.com. She's a regular here on our show and really knows an enormous amount about this, not only this industry, but also about the specific incidents with Morningland Dairy. And we're also joined by Denise Dixon, the owner of Morningland Dairy. And Denise, I'm telling you, I'm going to apologize on behalf of America for what's been done to you guys. You know, you and I have spoke very briefly on the phone. You don't know me, but I can tell you I've been through the same scenario myself where, you know, outrage ruled, and you know, the way that our government handles this stuff and the heavy lead hammer they swing at us is just beyond comprehension. And I understand exactly where you guys are at.
It feels like Twilight Zone.
I don't doubt that at all. In fact, it ought to feel like the Twilight Zone, because it is. This is not the reality of what our constitutional Republican government is about. This is just absolute, sheer, total fascist abuse of power. And that's really what it comes down to. Doreen, you had mentioned that a lot of this cheese is still possibly salvageable, correct? I mean, I know it's been sitting there for 2.5 years, but doesn't cheese age like wine and get better with time?
well, some of it does, and Morningland predominantly made Colby and cheddar and a few different varieties of cheddar. Now, the cheddar will just continue to sharpen. So, you know, after 2.5 years of additional sharpening, it'll be kind of like nuclear sharp cheddar, but you know,
add an entirely new kick to your mac and cheese, huh?
Well, yeah, it sure would, you know. But the thing about it is that in raw dairy, the enzymes continue to impede bacterial contamination to some degree. Now, that's not necessarily true for the Colby, but for the cheddar it is.
Okay.
So some of that cheddar, even though it's not been tended to, and when I was speaking with Joseph Dixon yesterday, I verified with him what I'd received from some other people involved in cheese making. Probably about a quarter of the cheddar that they've had in the cooler for 2.5 years would still be good. And that cheese would be very, very much gourmet cheese by this point. And we're still talking about $50,000 worth of cheese.
Unbelievable.
But the milk board says that all cheese in there is
in their infinite tyranny. I mean,
in
wisdom.
Their infinite tyranny, yes. Says that all the cheese in the cooler, no matter what the tests indicate, is suspect, and it all has to be destroyed.
Well, I'll tell you what. You guys are there. This raid is supposed to take place tomorrow morning at your farm. I know that there's been a lot of talk locally because I got a flood of phone calls yesterday in reference to this and a bunch of emails. What I would like to do is have our listeners assist you folks by showing up at this dairy at your dairy tomorrow morning, so that when these fascist jackbooted thugs, led by Don Falls from the State Milk Board, what an atrocious human being this guy must be, show up at your farm, that there are a ton of cameras there, there are a group of people standing there supporting you and supporting your efforts, and that they recognize that we as a citizenry are not willing to take this anymore. I mean, I understand that there is not, I mean, in the face of a court order, there's not much that we're going to be able to do as citizens unless we can get some kind of a court injunction barring them from touching this milk or this cheese tomorrow. But I think that it would be important to have press there and important to have bodies there to let these people know, and preferably, by the way, with a lot of cameras, to let these people know that, you know what, we're drawing the line in the sand on this, and this will never happen again, because we'll fight you tooth and nail. Is that, I mean, are we welcome to come?
Yes, you are. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And you're all welcome.
What we're going to do, guys, is we're going to give you some directions on the site at americasvoicenow.org. You can jump on our Facebook page. We'll put a link up to directions to get to the farm. It's in Mountain View, Missouri. And we'll be making sure that we're there. Now, Doreen, you had another point that you wanted to bring out that we talked about offline. What was that?
Well, just that, you know, this destruction of Morningland was really beyond heavy-handed. Let me give the little knockdown of it. There were 2 blocks of Morningland cheese that were seized in the Rawsome raid, which was a 5-agency raid at gunpoint on a private food club in California.
Yeah.
About 2 months later, they tested the cheese and said it was suspect. The cheese that they tested was in 1-pound blocks, and Morningland never sold 1-pound blocks to Rawsome. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then they come back here, and the milk board goes in and says, well, we should have you back up and running by next week. And then overnight, evidently, Don Falls speaks with somebody, and the whole story changes. They're shut down. It's not just the $250,000 worth of cheese. This was a $600,000 per year business that employed 6 people.
Unbelievable.
Now, that in this area, we desperately need jobs.
Right.
Okay, we desperately need jobs.
And we're about to lose 6. Well, we've already lost 6, and we're about to lose a family farm.
Exactly. And there is no prescription for the Dixons to resume cheese making at all. The milk board has not offered a single method by which they can be cleared.
I mean, it sounds to me like basically they're forcing the thing to be, they're forcing you to fail. That really is what it comes down to. They want you to fail, and they're going to do everything in their power to accomplish that goal. Because if they're making it impossible for you to stay in business, if they're making it impossible for you to have access to or to even continue to be in business after this event, or they're giving you such incredible restrictions that you couldn't possibly remain in business, it's very clear what the ultimate goal is.
Yes.
I mean, to me, this is just, I have to tell you, I'm infuriated. And Denise, you don't know my story, and one day I'll tell you over a glass of wine, or but I'll tell you what, it's just beyond comprehension. I'm going to give folks an opportunity to actually participate and activate them to help here, and I'll tell you why. Or tell you how. There's a website out here, folks. I want you to get a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to write this down. It's also up on our website, and it's also up on our Facebook page. But I want you to write this down. There's a website that has been put up here where folks have been pledging some money to assist the Dixons, and that's Joe and Denise, by the way, in reference to this theft of their property. Basically, over the past couple of years, they've raised some $55,000, I think, on this to help you guys at least cover your farm expenses, cover your taxes, and cover the mortgage payments on it while all of this is being drug out through the courts. And it's important, people, because you have an opportunity to literally go over here and pledge some funds that will help these people out. And I know that this is a tight money area, but you know what? If we don't stand together, then we're all going to fall. Separately. So here's the website. I want you to have a piece of paper and a pen ready. It's called pledgy.com. That's pledge, like pledging or making a promise. That's pledgy.com, pledgie.com /campaigns/13790. That's pledgy.com /campaigns/13790. Now, if you can't write fast enough, we're going to have stuff up on the website. We're going to have stuff up on Facebook. We're going to, you're more than welcome to figure out. You can also just go into your browser and type in Uncheese Party, UN-Cheese Party, right? The idea is this is a place where you can actually go in here and help these folks out. You can donate some funds, whether it be $1 or whether it be $1,000, to help them to remain in business and to at least cover the losses that they've incurred here. The goal is $250,000. We're $194,000 away from that. And so we're calling on all of you, whether you're listening to this live, whether you're catching this on YouTube later on today. I don't care how, where, when, or whatever you get this. The goal of this is for you to help out. These people need your help, and they have been absolutely abused and betrayed by our republic, because we've got a fascist milk board and a fascist FDA that have just beaten these folks into submission. And I find that appalling and shameful. So if you have an opportunity to, I don't care if you've got this is your chance to put up the widow's mite. This is your time to do that, people. You have an opportunity to really help these people out. And we're about to lose another family farm in our area. And I have to tell you, we just can't afford it. Denise, I'd like any last comments that you have before our next break. I mean, if you've got anything that, I'd love to hear you. I'd love to help have these people support you, and I'm not really sure best, how we can do that other than this pledgy thing and showing up tomorrow, of course.
I don't know what to say other than I'm amazed and humbled that you would help the way you are and that people would help.
Well, don't thank me. This is what we're supposed to do. That's kind of like saying I'm going to give you a bonus for showing up on time for work. No. That's what you're supposed to do, okay? So let me tell you, it's a pleasure. It's my pleasure to throw this word out here. And I'll be honest with you, I wish I'd have known about this sooner, and I wish I had an opportunity to take action on this sooner and hopefully drive our listenership to do that as well. So no thanks is due to me. You can thank these folks if they hit this pledgy site and make some donations to you. But this is what we're supposed to do. This is what a community pulled together does. And so I think it's terribly important that as many people as possible are standing there at that gate. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Don Falls, the tyrant from the Missouri State Milk Board, shows up there tomorrow morning and there are a couple of 100 people standing around that gate?
Yeah. Now, here's the issue. All of these bureaucrats, these little minions of the state, if you will, that are performing these duties are simply people too. And they need to be held accountable for the job that they're receiving a paycheck for. And that paycheck is coming from every one of us within the state of Missouri.
Right.
Okay? Now, this entire process, you've got a state that licenses a business, and then a state agency that goes after that business to kill that business. You've got the state attorney general's office prosecuting on behalf of the state agency, and you've got a state-paid judge.
Right.
So, I mean, how do you fight that?
How does the individual war against, this is the old adage, you can't fight City Hall, except it's a whole lot bigger than City Hall. I mean, you're talking about the resources of an entire state. And you know what really bothers me about this? The FDA went in and did 100 swabs, and it found 100% negative. And you know what they did? They said, hands washed, we don't want any part of this because we don't have enough evidence to actually prosecute this on a federal level. So they backed off. And that, because I know exactly how the feds work. Believe me, if they thought that they could have made hay with this, they would have. But by their testing, that determined pretty quickly that they knew, hey, you know what? This is a waste of our time. We're not going to, I don't want to waste federal resources, beating these people to death. So they backed off. And then Don Fall stepped in and said, I'm the little Hitler of this fiefdom, and I'm going to make this a personal agenda. And that's the problem with this.
Well, here's the larger problem is that the court prevented the evidence from the FDA from being introduced. So you don't have a capacity to defend yourself.
You know what? I'm not surprised. I'm appalled, but I'm not surprised because I've seen this over and over and over with the courts, that they don't really give a damn about justice. All they're interested in is doing what they're told to do by the prosecutor, because, look, these prosecutors really have one goal in mind, and that is to destroy the individual whom they're going after. And the courts always give deference to them. We're going to take a break. If you girls want to hang on for a minute, and if you can, I understand that. If you want to hang on for a minute while we take this quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up our conversation with you. Our phone lines have been going bonkers, by the way, but I didn't want to take calls. I wanted people to have an opportunity to hear from you. We'll be back in just a moment.
The 7th Annual West Plains Public Library Foundation's Chili Cook-Off is set for February 23rd. Sign up now. Limited booth space is still available, but spots are filling up fast. If you'd like to sponsor, the deadline to sign up is January 31st. Proceeds from the Chili Cook-Off will benefit the West Plains Public Library Foundation. This foundation raises money for an endowment that will support the future capital improvement projects of the West Plains Public Library. For more information, call Sherry Russell at 417-256-4775 or pick up your entry form at West Plains Public Library today.
Zizzler Talk is our special segment where we give an inside peek into the happenings and events taking place in the West Plains R7 School District and the West Plains community.
And today we're talking about a bass tournament.
Today with Diana Locke, the advisor,
helping lead these kids into doing the 4th annual bass tournament.
Yes, that is correct, sir. We have Elizabeth, Trey, and Susie speaking with the cast of Wizard of Oz.
Today we have the speech and debate team.
Join Cooper for Zizzler Talk right here on the Ozarks Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point.
Another year older, another birthday blood. Not when you're listening to the Birthday Club here on 107.1 The Point each morning during the morning show. Proudly presented by Ryan's Family Restaurant. Call in your loved ones, your mom, dad, grandma, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, whoever, for their chance to be the winner of a great buffet and drink from Ryan's Family Restaurant. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you from 107.1 The Point and Ryan's Family Restaurant. To you.
We are back. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Mike Evans. We are joined this morning by Doreen Hannes, the Truth Farmer. You can find her website and her blog at truthfarmer.com. She is also one of the members of the Property Rights Coalition in this area, and you can find their information at prcnews.org. Also, we are joined by Denise Dixon, the owner of Morningland Dairy, who's been just absolutely thrashed about here by our judicial system and our regulatory system through this milk board with Don Falls, the new little micro tyrant. And I have to tell you, I'm just frustrated as all get out. In fact, I don't find myself often at a loss for words, but I do now, because I've been where you are, Denise, and I have to tell you, it's just, my blood is there's steam coming out my ears. You just can't see it because I'm wearing these headsets.
Well, it's uncalled for. I would think that it would be to their in their interest totally to help us in any way they can to find any problem if there was a problem,
right?
And help us to get back in business. It behooves us, to help one another, to help commerce continue.
Unfortunately, that's using common sense, dear. and when you look at these boards and you look at these administrative agencies, they're not in business to do anything except rule by absolute fiat and in a dictatorial manner. And this is here's a guy who is a minor bureaucrat, this Don Falls, who has his opportunity, his one crack at the 15 minutes of fame with a baseball bat the size of Louisiana, and he's swinging it for all he's worth. And I find that shameful that, this just goes to show you what human beings can turn into with a little bit of power, folks. And if this guy, Don Falls, turns into this kind of tyrant and monster as a milk board director, I mean, talk about, pathetic.
He's not even the director. The director is the one, I believe, who told Don Falls to do what he's done. Don Falls is an inspector, and he's been an inspector for a very long time. Gene Wiseman is the director that this occurred under. And I was present at several of the meetings. I don't think I was present at all of the meetings between the Milk Board and Morningland and the FDA in there as well. Now, at one point, I pointedly asked 3 different times in 3 different ways how they would clear Morningland to resume business.
Right.
And they couldn't tell me. It was like nailing Jello to the wall.
Yeah, right. Nailing Jello to the wall. Very good one. What's Wiseman's first name?
Gene.
Mm-hmm. Folks, I don't even know how to get a hold of the Missouri Milk Board, but I'll tell you what. I bet if you go on and you throw it into a browser and you type in Missouri State Milk Board, I think everybody should load up Gene Wiseman's voicemail, because he won't answer you. I guarantee you that. When he finds out how many phone calls he's going to get, I suggest we all call Gene Wiseman up and let him know that we, as the citizens of the state of Missouri, are tired of tyranny and are tired of this kind of nonsense from a state government office and a mid or bottom of the barrel scraping bureaucrat like him. Because you know what? This is just shameful behavior, and it's absolutely inexcusable.
And they're doing this to another dairy as well in Missouri.
Oh my God!
Called Homestead Creamery, which is a much smaller venture, and it's I believe it's near Columbia. But that just began, Homestead Creamery. So,
okay, they're just starting the assault and the siege on another dairy, right?
Yes.
Folks, I mean, look, this is beyond the pale. Listen, I want to thank both of you ladies for joining us. I've got to wrap the show. Okay. And, you guys don't want to hear me sit and do that.
Hey, Mike?
But, yeah.
Could Denise give out the address for Morningland?
Oh, please, of course, by all means. Yeah, do that.
Okay, the address is 6248 County Road 2980, Mountain View.
Okay.
Off of RA Highway.
Off of RA?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Folks,
it's actually off of 60, but it's across from RA Highway.
Okay.
Across from RA Highway.
Okay.
Okay. Folks, this is 6248 County Road 2890.
No, 2980.
I'm sorry. 2980. I should have done this before. That just shows I didn't do my homework, and I apologize. It's 6248 County Road 2980 in Mountain View, Missouri, and it's across from RA Highway. Punch that into your GPS and show up tomorrow morning. What time is this supposed to occur? Do we know?
Well, it's supposed to be, it's according to what we've seen so far, at or before 8 o'clock.
Okay. Why don't you triple padlock your gates until like 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and at that point because, you know, I know how these dairy things work. They say, well, 3 o'clock in the morning is when a dairyman's up milking his cows, so that any time after 3 a.m. is open season on working hours, right? So why don't you padlock your gates until like 7 o'clock so that everybody, or 8 o'clock, so that everybody has an opportunity to gather there?
Yes.
Just a thought. Okay, 6248 County Road 2980 across from Highway RA. Make sure, folks, that you have an opportunity. Bring a cup of coffee. Bring a camera. I don't even care if it's got film in it. Just make sure that you let them know we're watching what they're doing. And we will also try to make sure that we give you an update tomorrow or on Saturday morning. In fact, if you girls would be willing to come back Saturday morning, I'd love to actually do an update on this story on Saturday, if you're willing to do that. We'll talk about it offline.
Okay.
Okay, folks, we're going to wrap the show. You are listening to America's Voice Now. Thank both of you, ladies. I'm grateful that you took the time to come with us this morning. And Denise, please accept my apologies on behalf of America.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Folks, here's your opportunity to take action and take a part in this. You can go to 6248 County Road 2980 tomorrow. You can get there about 7 a.m., and we are going to try to make sure that we let the State Milk Board for Missouri know that we've had enough of their nonsense. Go ahead, caller. You got a minute? You got less than a minute.
Yes. Did this start with an administrative law finding before it went to court?
I actually don't know. Turn your radio off. We'll find out for you. We got seconds down here, but I know what it's called. Tyranny. I don't give a damn whether they did it through administrative law or some other one. It's called tyranny and treason in action.
Law, yeah, but you can't win an administrative hearing. You just can't do it. It's rigged against you.
Well, they also blocked them from having a jury trial. So, and that was a court order. I don't know how you block a jury trial. That's the right of every American. Hey, listen, I appreciate the call. Thanks.
Thank you.
Folks, catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. You can also find us on Facebook, where this entire broadcast will be run, and it'll be up and posted within an hour or so. You can find that by going to youtube.com/America's Voice Now. What I'd like each of you to do is make sure that you go out there and take this Facebook clip that we put up there of this show today and email about 50 friends with this thing and make sure that you're helping. Also, go to pledgy.com. That's PLEDGIE.com /campaigns/13790. You can donate a little bit of money and help these folks out, and or you can show up tomorrow at 6248 County Road 2980 in Mountain View, Missouri. Have a great day. We'll see you folks tomorrow morning, and we'll be trying to bring this thing full circle on Saturday morning and giving you an update. All right? We'll see you tomorrow.
Let's get to the point.
Well, let me get to the point.
FM News Talk for the Ozarks is FM 107.1, The Point, KBMV.
Fox News Radio, I'm Dave Anthony. He's in line to replace Hillary Clinton. In this hour, Senator John Kerry goes to a very familiar place for his confirmation hearing. Fox News Radio's Mike Makowitz live at the White House.
Talk about home field advantage. John Kerry's Secretary of State nomination hearing just getting underway is being heard by the Foreign Relations Committee that he chairs. It's not expected he's going to run into any serious opposition. There are policy differences, but Republicans I've talked to are generally supportive. So to the public. A new Fox News poll says 54% of voters say they'd vote to confirm Kerry, and that included almost a third of Republicans. Dave?
Mike, the day after Secretary of State Clinton, it's Times testy testimony about the attack in Benghazi, Libya,